I may be a white boy, but I'm not stupid. I know where the power is.
But he does not have that power. That has to be an act of Congress.
Right. You know, as the president said, we believe it's fair.
From now on, I want you all to call me Loretta.
Some things in the 1970s turning out to be true today. Joe Biden had another pretty bad, quote-unquote, mistake / pandering that everybody's talking about. SCOTUS is finally hearing the student loan, quote-unquote, forgiveness plan, and a bunch more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Thanks so much for tuning in. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
Here we go!
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in on today. It is Tuesday, February 28th, the year of our Lord 2023. So glad you're here, but not so glad that the dude currently occupying the White House can apparently not, I don't want to say, well, he can't think, but he also can't use any sort of rationale to make decisions that are going to be politically advantageous for himself, but also for the country. This is the story / faux pas, whatever you want to call it, that's making a lot of news nowadays. Joe Biden has never been one to be called a silver-tongued devil. He's never been one to wow audiences with his brilliant rhetoric. But he has been one to pander heavily to various voting blocs that he thinks will vote for him in the next election. And he did so yesterday at a Black History Month thing in which he said some things that are just objectively not cool. And I hate to, go, this is racist and all that sort of stuff. It seems to be overplayed, but holy cow, dude, you can't say this. I'm going to play you this clip, and then we'll discuss on what the implications of that would be if, in fact, the president said it, which he did say it. But we'll discuss what do you mean by that, Mr. President? Watch this clip from yesterday at a Black History Month event at the White House. Check it out.
I may be a white boy, but I'm not stupid. I know where the power is. I know where the power. You think I'm joking?
Yeah. Not sure what you mean by that, Mr. President. Now, the obvious statement is that, well, what are you saying? Are you saying that, generally speaking, quote-unquote, white boys are stupid? According to who? And I'm not here to defend white boys. I'm just saying that seems like a decently racist implication that, quote-unquote, calling white boys are, well, I'm a white boy, but I'm not stupid, would imply that white boys then are stupid, which, regardless of whatever race you're talking about, is bad. Which leads us into the next point of, what if he was talking about a different race? What if he says, I may be insert minority, but I'm not stupid? Maybe even he didn't have to say that. If somebody said that, that would be horrible. And the media would explode. But for some reason, if Joe Biden says, well, I may be a white boy, but I'm not stupid, that's like acceptable, I guess? I don't know. Again, just put the shoe on the other foot there. If somebody said, I may be, I don't know, insert minority, whatever you want to put in there, but I'm not stupid, are you then implying that entire minority race or ethnicity is stupid? That would be a horrible thing to do, but it's fine, I guess, in Joe Biden's case. He also made some other remarks that I want to play for you. Well, we'll just play it. Watch this.
I know most of those songs for a simple reason. As my buddy from Delaware can tell you, when you're involved in the civil rights movement as a kid in high school, I used to go down to the black church. I go to 7:30 Mass. I'm a practicing Catholic. Then I go to 10 o'clock. And then we sit and plan what we're going to do in terms of desegregation. You think I'm joking? I'm not.
It's mostly about pandering. Joe Biden is pandering to his audience there at the Black History, whatever it is. I thought this tweet was hilarious regarding that. So Joe Biden said, "Oh, I went to Catholic Mass at 7:30, and then I went to the Black church." Somebody on Twitter said, according to Joe Biden, he grew up in a poor working class family in a Black Puerto Rican Polish neighborhood and went to a Black Christian gospel Muslim synagogue. Very, very well-written tweet. It's very, very funny. Joe Biden has claimed to do so much in his youth that probably didn't happen. Also, today being the last day of Black History Month, all of this ridiculous Joe Biden stuff aside, I would like to point out that if you don't know this, the first 23 Black congressional members were all Republicans. Just a fun historical tidbit there for you. But the whole "I may be a white boy, but I'm not stupid" reminds me a lot of this comment from a couple years ago on the campaign trail. Watch this and we'll discuss on the other side. Hopefully you remember this really, really awkward moment for the president while he was campaigning in 2020. Check it out.
And the other thing we should do is we should challenge these students. We should challenge students in these schools to have advanced placement programs in these schools. We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, Black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it, but think how we think about it.
So, okay, just back it up. He misspoke. Terribly, by the way. When he say poor kids are just as smart as white kids. But then if you watch the clip, and maybe we'll replay it again so you can see what I'm looking at. If you rewatch the clip, he says white kids, wealthy kids. Now, he could have stopped there because in my mind, that would have been like, hey, whoa, I misspoke. Sorry, I said white kids. I meant to say wealthy kids. Poor kids are just as smart as wealthy kids. And that makes sense to me. And I also agree with that. But it didn't. He said white kids, and then he corrected himself, or at least what we thought was a correction, and said wealthy kids, but then continued on, which negated his correction. Listen to that last part one more time. Watch.
Kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, Black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it, but think how we think about it.
If he had just stopped at the correction, I would have taken it as a correction, but he didn't. He went on to list other groups of people, implying that the white kids remark wasn't a mistake. Do you get what I'm saying here? Had he just gone, poor kids are just as smart as white kids. I'm sorry, wealthy kids. Okay, yeah, fine. People misspeak. That's a thing that happens. I get it. But he doesn't. He continues on with a list. Poor kids are just as smart as white kids. Wealthy kids, Black kids, Asian kids, you know what I'm saying? Which, again, negates the misspeaking correction there that he should have made. But nevertheless, the president often misspeaks, and it's often to the peril of probably his staffers. Can you imagine being a Joe Biden White House staffer? Anytime the dude is on TV, you're just sitting there watching, biting your fingernails, going, oh my gosh, don't say anything accidentally super racist. Please don't say anything accidentally super racist. But he tends to never disappoint. But that was one of my favorite clips of Joe Biden. Anyways, that is the president. But I want to move on from that. We'll get back to the president in a little bit because I do want to talk about this. This is kind of funny. KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, is defending Fauci against backlash now that the Energy Department has decided that COVID-19 probably did come from a lab in Wuhan, China. Listen to this. This is the press conference yesterday. So the report comes out that the Energy Department now thinks this. Everybody, us go, yes, we were right. We told you so. Congratulations to ourselves. Thank you so much. And then a bunch of people say, well, remember when Fauci said that it definitely wasn't this, and that whole letter that it was the Lancet letter, I believe, if my memory serves me, where a bunch of quote unquote doctors and epidemiologists signed on and said it definitely wasn't this. A bunch of people brought that up, and then the lefty side decided, whoa. You can't besmirch Dr. Fauci like that. We will come to the aid of Dr. Fauci. And that's exactly what KJP did in the White House press briefing room. Check this out.
So I do want to speak to Dr. Fauci because the political attacks on someone like Dr. Fauci, who and public officials more broadly, but Dr. Fauci, who has spent his career saving lives, and whether it was the AIDS epidemic or as we are just coming out of this COVID, this once-in-a-generation pandemic, these attacks have been counterproductive. They have not been helpful. This is someone, again, who has spent his almost entire career fighting for the well-being, the health of the American people. And so
Okay, so there's a couple things she said there. She doesn't like the criticism, the political criticism of government officials, or whatever she said specifically. Yeah, that's a huge freaking problem. Remember, the United States is based on a group of people voting for representatives to make the laws. The problem is, and I've complained about this several times, Congress doesn't freaking do their jobs. They've passed feel-goody nothing laws, the nothing bad should ever happen law. And they say, all right, executive branch, president, and all of the bureaucratic departments, you figure out what that means. And then you have unelected bureaucrats like Dr. Fauci imposing their might, their federal government might, on people. So it is only natural that we, the people, push back on that sort of thing. So I thought it was fascinating that KJP says, well, the attacks on Dr. Fauci and, government officials as a whole, these people are just trying to do their jobs. Well, the problem is, I do blame Congress. Congress is the problem. Congress doesn't do their jobs. And I'm talking about both sides of the aisle. Congress needs to actually vote on laws regardless of whether or not it's going to be beneficial for them politically in the long term. They need to do their freaking jobs, or else you have unelected bureaucrats making arbitrary laws, and we, the people, now have to politically attack the unelected officials that have power that we did not give them. So yes, it is good to politically criticize government officials. She also said something that I thought was fascinating too, in that Dr. Fauci, she said, has been working to save lives, whether it's this pandemic or the AIDS pandemic. Fascinating thing to bring up. Do you remember the AIDS pandemic? Okay, there's a movie, what's it called? Matthew McConaughey, skinny, Dallas Buyers Club. The Dallas Buyers Club, I believe, won the Oscar for Best Picture, or either that or he won the Oscar for Best Actor. Big, huge movie. And the premise of the movie is Matthew McConaughey's character has HIV/AIDS. And he's looking for, obviously, a cure. He doesn't want to die. And the biggest problem he had was going to get the medicine because the federal government was blocking things that he thought was going to work. So he went to Mexico, purchased drugs there, brought them back in the United States, and formed this club where people could buy this medicine that the federal government blocked off. And he had to work around the federal government, and it worked effectively. The whole point of the movie is that these drugs worked, and the federal government was the problem. She just reminded everybody that Fauci was at the federal government at the time stopping life-saving drugs during the AIDS epidemic. The Dallas Buyers Club, which again won a ton of awards, which I don't care about awards for arts, but it's just interesting. A big, massive, popular movie. Dr. Fauci was the villain. And KJP reminds all of us that, yes, during the AIDS epidemic, he blocked critical life-saving medicine to people who needed it, because that's what government bureaucracies do. That was more of a long-winded rant on Dr. Fauci than I thought I was going to give, but, such is the modern times. KJP also went on to talk about the the economy, which I thought this is apropos of nothing, but this commentary I think was funny. So just so you know, obviously inflation is up. You guys have all felt it. Let me know in the comment section. I haven't brought up any comments today, but I will read some of them at some point. But let us know in the comment section. Are you better off financially? And I'm talking about literally. Like, has inflation had no effect on your life whatsoever? The answer is no. Everybody is feeling the pinch. Yeah, everybody is. But that doesn't stop KJP from saying, no, this is exactly what it's supposed to be. This is all working. Watch this.
That's why, as we've been talking about the economy over the last 30 minutes here, that's why the president, we believe, has an economic plan, and it's been proven by the data that grows the economy for, from the bottom up, middle out, for people who are normally left behind. And so that's going to continue to be the president's economic policy.
Yeah, KJP saying, no, the Biden economy plan is working. So there's that. Let's see, as promised, some comments here. Mike says, Fauci is a scumbag piece of smiley-faced poop emojis. I think I understand what you're saying, Mike, but at least he's smiling. Regarding inflation, Ben says eggs are $6.99 a dozen in California. Yeah, they're incredibly expensive. And I'm not sure how you pronounce this name, Fryer. This show is right-wing garbage. Okay, if you would like to submit an actual argument to anything that we're talking about here, feel free to do so. I actually do like reading some of the commentary that's opposite of what we think here, which is totally fine. I'm totally willing to take any sort of that. If you have any actual argument to anything, would love to see it in the comment section. Also, because it really, really does help the algorithm. Also, if you haven't, by the way, if you would click the little like button, I would really, really appreciate you doing that. And the little share button. It really, really does help us out continue this show rolling each and every day. Or let us know in the comment section what you think. And if you disagree, would also love to hear your comment, because it actually does help us. So whatever platform you're watching on, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Getter, all of the social media platforms, that would be fantastic if you could do that. Moving on to this. Wow, I bantered on way too long about all that sort of stuff. But the Supreme Court is hearing the first arguments today for the student loan debt forgiveness plan. I say forgiveness because debt forgiveness is not a thing. It's just debt transferring. Debt just doesn't disappear into thin air. It gets paid for by somebody, i.e. the taxpayer. But when was it? I think right before the election, Joe Biden said, we're going to forgive the debt of a bunch of people. And everyone was like, hooray! And the sane people in the world, and those who have read the Constitution / understand the Constitution, were like, yeah, you can't do that. And it's been held up in the courts up until now, where the Supreme Court is hearing arguments on whether or not the Biden administration can actually issue a $300 million stroke of the pen. $300 billion stroke of the pen. It would be the most expensive executive action in history by like 500% or something crazy like that. Probably even more than that. But the Supreme Court is hearing it now. Now, there's a couple of news outlets, interestingly enough, that I'm not a huge fans of, but covered it fairly. Right now, I'm forgetting the Secretary of the Department of Education's name. It'll come to me when this clip is playing, but he's on CNN, and CNN actually pressed him a little bit, which was fascinating. I want you to watch this, and we'll discuss on the other side. These are fascinating networks pressing the administration on, hey, this is not cool. Watch this.
Even the president himself in a CNN town hall in Milwaukee last year questioned and actually laid out the limits of his authority. Listen to this.
I'm prepared to write off the $10,000 debt, but not 50.
Mr. President, let me ask you.
Because I don't think I have the authority to do it by sign of a pen.
Then Speaker Pelosi said this in 2001 about the limits, again, of what you can do without an act of Congress. Here she was.
People think that the President of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. He does not. He can postpone, he can delay, but he does not have that power. That has to be an act of Congress.
She later said in 2022, actually, we do have this power. But you can see those are two key people in the administration and the then speaker saying there are limits to this authority. And that's the real legal question here.
Which is fascinating because remember, Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi both admitted, the president can't do this. It's not at all constitutionally possible. And then he went and did it. And now the Constitution has to be tested in the Supreme Court to show that you can't do it. Now, just for the record, this is a huge deal. If first of all, I don't expect the Supreme Court to actually say that this is okay. That my expectation / prediction is that the Supreme Court's like, you can't. One person can't, with the stroke of a pen, spend $300 billion. That's not cool. You can't do that. But if they were to say he can, which would be insane, that would upend the entirety of the United States of America, because that would mean that the president has power that was never intended for the president to have with this sort of ruling. If it were to go the Supreme Court saying that this is possible, then what are the limits then of the presidency? If the president can just spend hundreds of billions of dollars on a whim, if that's possible, we have huge problems to deal with. So I'm hoping it won't. But anyways, here is even on MSNBC, and we'll get to some comments here in a second. But this is MSNBC, Misha Brzezinski on Morning Joe talking to the same secretary, which is Miguel Cardona, Education Department Secretary, talking to him, asking another question that we all have. Even again, lefty outlets are talking about this. Check this out.
How do you make this fair, though? Because I believe the concern might be that there will be future legal challenges, and there are many things to consider when you forgive some loan debt, but not other loan debt. And then you have people who have paid off the debt.
Right. As the president said, we believe it's fair. It's based on the pandemic. We know that after national emergencies, when loan payments are paused, when it's time to restart the loans, there's up to 20 times the amount of defaults that you would normally have. We want to prevent this. This is why we proposed targeted debt relief of $10,000 or $20,000 if you're a Pell recipient, to help those folks get back on their feet. And as far as folks who say, I've already paid my debt, well, that happened prior to the pandemic.
So it's okay. Again, Misha Brzezinski is saying, hey, how do you make this fair? And we've got some comments in here. Let me see if I can find them. Marcel says, so do I get a refund for paying my student loans that I paid off? They say no. Remember, Elizabeth Warren was asked that question. She's like, no, of course you don't. No way. Okay, so parents forwent vacations and buying upgraded cars and houses and all that sort of stuff so that they could put their kids through school. But apparently because of the pandemic, which, just FYI, a lot of the people who did really well during the pandemic were all college-educated people. So that goes without saying. If you're going to accept the idea that college-educated people make more money, isn't this just a handout to the wealthy class? But of course, we're not going to relitigate that. Actually, you know what? Oh, shoot, you're running out of time. Chuck Schumer made a case about that I can bring up. Anyways, so yeah, even Misha Brzezinski, the lefty's like, hey, how do you make this fair? And the Cardona, the Secretary of Education, is just like, well, it is fair. And the people that paid it off were paying in the good times where the government wasn't giving out millions of dollars, trillions of dollars during COVID. They paid it off then. So it doesn't make sense. I don't have to make it make sense. I don't have to tell you that it doesn't make sense. But I did want to bring this up really quick. This is Chuck Schumer on the Senate floor. Chuck Schumer is the Senate majority leader, talking about, well, people are calling this a handout to the rich, because remember, statistically, if you're a college-educated person, you end up making more money in this country. So wouldn't those be the last people that need debt relief? Why wouldn't you then pay for the single mom working 3 jobs who has a car loan? How does that make sense? But anyways, watch this on Chuck Schumer, and then we'll get to some of the numbers here after he wraps up. Watch this.
Let me be clear. 90% of the relief going to out-of-school borrowers will go to those earning less than $75,000 a year. This isn't a handout to the wealthy, far from it. This is critical relief to working and middle-class families.
So he touts, this just numbers here. He touts, well, 90% of the people getting this make less than $75,000 a year. And that can be a compelling argument if you don't know what the national income is per household. The national average income per household, not per individual, per household, is between $55,000 and $60,000 a year. So what he is bragging about is saying that, well, 90% of the people looking to get this loan make less than $15,000 more than the national average of households. When you put it that way, does it really make it that compelling of an argument? If the average household, not individual, makes $15,000 less than the number that you're bragging about, maybe you're bragging about the wrong number. Or maybe the plan itself is just not a good plan. And maybe it's completely unfair to, again, those of us who don't have any debt because somebody sacrificed. I went to college, and my grandparents and my parents saved up and sacrificed a lot to be able to do so. Same with my wife's parents. Money didn't just fall off the tree. Somebody had to forego a sacrifice. Look, if you ask really anybody's parents who paid for school, if they would rather have taken a vacation or bought a nice fancy new car than pay $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 for their kids' college, if it had no effect on the kids' outcome, I guarantee you they would say, yeah, I would have loved to gone to Hawaii every year or done whatever it is that they wanted to do with their money, provided it didn't alter the trajectory, the course of the kid. But they said, well, I want what's best for my kids, so I'm going to sacrifice for this. And now you're saying, well, no, it's fair because they did that before the pandemic. Make that make sense, because I'm not sure it does. You know what? I got another thing to play, but I'm going to go ahead and call it quits here and save that for tomorrow, because I think it'll be fun tomorrow. More fun tomorrow. Yeah, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow. Coming up this week, where am I going to be? Tomorrow, we'll be here tomorrow in the morning, but also tomorrow I will be at the University of Santa Barbara, University of California, Santa Barbara, UCSB, Santa Barbara. If you're in that area, the Santa Barbara, Ventura area, would love to see you. Myself, and I'm speaking alongside Charlie Kirk at a TPUSA Live Free Tour. The tour starts tomorrow, and it's just very exciting. So if you live in the Santa Barbara area, would love to see you come out and see myself and Charlie Kirk at University of Santa Barbara. On Friday, I will be in Vista, California, which is north of San Diego. If you're in that area, tickets are still available. By the way, I did do it. You can go to jobob.me and find the tour schedule on the website. I finally actually did it. Those of you who watch each and every day really appreciate you doing so, but you also know that I am either lazy or forgetful and never do it, but I did it. It's on my website. Then next Wednesday, we are at the University of Kentucky in Lexington, Kentucky. Then Thursday, we're at the University of Illinois, Chicago in Chicago. So if you're in any of those areas, would appreciate you coming out. I'd love to meet you. I really do enjoy meeting people that tune in, especially every day. I don't know. It's fun to get to say hi and hang out for a little bit. Let's see. Outside of that, if you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media platforms. Just type in JOBOB. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're new to my Facebook page, there's a bunch of new people onto the Facebook page. Make sure, you click the little notifications button. There's a bunch of you that have been saying, hey, I didn't get, I don't know when you're on. Facebook does this weird thing in the algorithm. So if you want to know when we're on, and it doesn't have to be every single day, you can click the get notifications when we're live, and then you will get a notification that we are live, and you will actually see the show. I've gotten a bunch of comments / messages saying, hey, your show disappeared from my feed. That's how you solve it. You click the little notification button and or make sure you get notified, and that's how you can get on. But you can follow on any of the social media platforms. I will stop jabbering. Hope to see you out in the real world, but also until tomorrow, have a great rest of your day. See you at the same time, same place. God bless America.